Y'all, today we are going to be talking about a serial killer. He killed for over a decade. He is the most evil serial killer I've ever heard of as of now. He is the only serial killer that scares the living daylights out of me. I had to take a break while working on him. And guess how he got caught? His tires. Stay tuned. Hey y'all, it's me, Anne Marie, the Cajun Crime Queen from Caregrow, Louisiana. Cajun born, Cajun bred, and when I die, I'll be Cajun dead. How are y'all doing today on this lovely, wicked Wednesday? I'm having an amazing day so far. How was y'all weekend? Did y'all have a good weekend? It's the middle of the week, so it's almost time for the weekend. Of course, I like to share a little bit about something that happened to me during the week, which I will. I'm going to tell y'all this. This serial killer right here that I'm about to talk about is beyond evil, y'all. He is the only serial killer that I had to step away from. I have thought about a lot. I know a lot. I can recite serial killers, their victims in seconds. That's how much I know. But I'm going to also tell y'all, from the age of around 8, I became obsessed with different serial killers. Why? I don't know. I just enjoyed crime. I remember going into stores and buying books, and all I wanted to do was crime. All I wanted to read was crime. I love it. I became fascinated with it. Not because I wanted to be a serial killer, but I always wanted to know what makes them so deranged that they want to kill several people and have a normal life. Never could understand it. So today, we're going to be talking about, guess who? A serial killer from Baton Rouge. Who is it? Yes, Sean Vincent Gillis. Sean Vincent Gillis was born June 24th, 1962 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. His parents were Yvonne and Norman Gillis. They met while his mother, Yvonne, was pursuing a graduate degree from Louisiana State University, LSU. When she met Norman, Sean's father, she did not know that he had severe mental issues, that he was in and out of mental hospitals, that he was an alcoholic, that he didn't know if he was a man or a woman. He was completely confused. He hid a lot of that from her. They ended up getting married. One day, Norman walked in the house holding a firearm. He rushed to Sean's room with Yvonne rushing behind him. What did he do? Y'all, he picked up his 1-year-old son, Sean, put the firearm to Sean, and told Yvonne, "I'm going to shoot him." Yvonne said, "No, you're not," rushed to him. They wrestled for the gun. Yvonne got the gun. She ran to the bathroom. She threw it out the window. She rushed back to her son, Sean, and she retrieved Sean, and her and Norman separated. Yvonne was very close to Sean. She doted on him. She called him her little blue-eyed angel, which is so sweet. That is so sweet. I love that. I love that name for him. Yes. I'm glad she gave him that name when he was a baby, because it really did fit him. She would read books to him. I'm not talking about Little Bo Peep. I'm not talking about the Three Little Pigs. This child was very young, and she was reading Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe. Even his teachers loved him. Everyone loved Sean. Everyone. In 1978, Sean's grandfather died, Norman Sr., his dad's father. In 1980, Sean graduated from high school. The night before graduation, he and his friends went to his father's hotel room, and on the nightstand, they found pictures of men in several different positions. Sean was outraged. He was shocked. At this point, he knew his father was maybe homosexual. Sean was arrested for the first time when he was 17 years old, right before graduating high school, for criminal trespassing. He was arrested several different times for marijuana, DUI, traffic violations. In 1992, Sean's mother got a call from Atlanta, and they wanted her to be the broadcast manager at their television station. Of course, she accepted. Yvonne was just elated. She was so excited. She wanted Sean to go with her, even though it was 1992 and Sean was 30 years old. He never worked. He never had a job. She paid all the bills, and all she did was take care of her son. She doted on him. Well, she wanted Sean to go. He said, absolutely not. I'll be fine. She said, well, I'm going to send you all the money for the bills and for food and to cover everything for the house so you could stay here. He said, I'm going to be okay. Sean started acting out as soon as his mother left. He would go outside and howl at the moon. And no, this wasn't new. Sean started howling at the moon when he was just 9 years old, y'all. 9. Yes. He also would stand outside and just curse out his mom, just to himself. And the neighbors would hear him screaming and just cursing that his mom left him. They also said Sean started peeping through their windows. They were actually starting to get afraid of Sean. He was doing all these crazy things. One day, Sean met Terry. Terry worked at the local Circle K, and she would work the night shifts, 11 to 7. She was a beautiful woman. She was a single mom. She had a daughter. They hit it off. They had a lot in common: Star Trek, science fiction, all that kind of fun stuff. Well, one day, Terry was like, Sean, why can't I ever go to your house? Why can't we ever spend some time at your house? Why do we always have to go to my house or somewhere else? He said, just because. Well, she had enough that day, and she said, no, we're going to your house. Because ladies and gentlemen, y'all all know that if y'all start dating someone and you can never go to their house, what are you going to think? I know what I would think. Do they have a family? Is he married? Is he over there in a dungeon kidnapping people? Like, why can't I go to your house? What is the big secret? Are you homeless? What is it? So what happens? Sean was aggravated, but he said yes. He said, okay, you're right. Let's go. Y'all, she was appalled when she got there. Appalled. The house stunk. There was a pathway to walk. Everything else was just everywhere. In 1992, Hurricane Andrew came. He still had the newspaper that soaked up the water from Hurricane Andrew. Water had gotten in their house. This was years later, and he still had that newspaper on the floor. Terry was shocked, but she said, you know what? We're going to fix this. I'm going to start cleaning. She started cleaning. She helped him. He actually helped her. They were going to get the house in order. Terry also said, Sean, why don't you work? He said, oh, my mom pays all my bills. She gives me money. I don't need to work. She goes, oh, no, you're going to start working. Yes, you are going to start working. He said, okay. She got him a job with her at the local Circle K, working 11 to 7. And as y'all all know, when I work on a case, I don't just dive in. I dive in, I tread water, I jump off the diving board. I want to give y'all every form of information that there is to have. And when I went to Baton Rouge, y'all, I went to the Circle K that they worked at, and I went to their house. I didn't go inside, of course. But when I went to Baton Rouge to see both of these things, it was walking distance. It was the perfect job for Sean and Terry. It was around the corner from their house. They had an excellent job. How long did Sean last? 3 weeks, y'all. 3 weeks. He hated working. He said, I don't like to be around people. I don't want to do my own thing. That's it. I'm not working. All Sean wanted to do was stay on his computer 24/7 at night. That's all he wanted to do. He loves playing on his computer, and he would stay up all night. A lot of times when Terry would get home from work, he wouldn't even go to sleep with her because all he wanted to do was play on his computer. So Terry just accepted it. Another thing that Terry found weird was through their 8-year relationship, they maybe had sex 2 or 3 times. Maybe. She finally asked him one day, why won't you have sex with me? Am I ugly? Is it the way I look? Do you not get turned on by me? What is it? Because he obviously loves her. He takes care of her. He takes care of her daughter. Yes, she wants to know. He said, I just don't like sex. I don't like it. I never have. I just don't want to do it. So she says, okay, it kind of bothered her at first, but then she said to herself, you know what? He's so kind. He's so affectionate. He's so loving. I don't care if he likes it or not. I'm going to stay with him no matter what. One day, Terry's cleaning and finds all kind of t-shirts, socks that were rock hard and bundled up, and also found dirty videos around. So y'all could just imagine what was in those socks and in those shirts. She knew exactly what it was, and she realized at that point that he was so addicted to dirty videos that he didn't want to have sex with her. So she grabbed one of them. He was sitting at his computer. She put it on his head and just laughed. And he laughed as well. The secret was out. Also, Terry came from a very, very abusive relationship. She wanted to know if Sean would ever hit her, which is horrible. Domestic violence is getting worse in this country. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Anyway, you shouldn't hit anybody. Terry slapped him across the face after they had a minor argument. Sean threw his wrist down. Tears came to his eyes. He clenched his fist, stood there straight, and said, "Boys don't hit girls and girls don't hit boys," and ran as fast as he could to his room. She knew at that point, he's never going to hurt me. He's never going to hit me. He was so mad that someone hit him. He didn't care who it was. He was not going to put his hands on anybody. That was Sean, which is a good thing. But what he did after was not a good thing. No. In 1994, Sean committed his first homicide, which this is totally weird, totally scary, and my heart goes out to this family. Ann Bryan was living in an assisted living facility, which was located across the street from Sean's work. She had been there for 5 years. She felt safe. She loved it. She was great. They said no one can beat her at Scrabble. She was just a wonderful lady. On March 21st, she left her door ajar because she didn't know if they were going to be coming in to give her her medication. I think we're about to have a visitor in a little bit. Yes. This is Mr. Fig. This is Figaro, my rag doll. Well, actually, my daughter's rag doll kitten. But anyway, oh, he wants to see Dorothy Stratton. Ann Bryan was sleeping. She heard the door open. She didn't think anything of it. The only thing she thought of was maybe it's the staff come and give me my medication. So what does she do? She just doesn't make it. She doesn't think anything of it, basically. All of a sudden, she sees Sean and freaked out, y'all. Freaked out. He was holding a knife. All of a sudden, he walked around. He just started stabbing, okay? Just going crazy on this 82-year-old elderly woman who was completely defenseless. She kept screaming, 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 screaming. He had enough, and the walls were thick. No one heard Ann. So what does he do? He just tries to quiet her by, you know what I mean? And that was it. She stopped. Okay? He still wasn't satisfied, y'all. He still was not satisfied with this. What does he do? He keeps going after her until he sees what's inside of her. It is absolutely horrible and absolutely scary to know that not only did he do stuff before she passed away, but he did stuff after she passed away. Ann Bryan was almost decapitated. Almost, you know, it was a horrible scene. The only thing that they could figure out was there was a bloody shoe print. Another thing that Sean figured out at this time, that he was also a cannibalist. Yes. Just like the co-ed killer, Ed Kemper, who I think looks exactly like Sean. If you saw their pictures, you would think they look exactly alike. And another one that we all know very well is Jeffrey Dahmer. They both enjoyed cannibalism. Sean left Ann's facility and went home. He got on his computer. Terry would get so frustrated with him sometimes and yell at him and say, "Get off the computer. Let's spend time together. Let's do something." Y'all, he would get so mad that he would start tearing up papers and tearing up the house. I'm like, what? That sounds like a child. But another thing you'll have to think of, Sean never really grew up. He never really grew up to be a man because his mom took care of him for everything. So he didn't know how to live in the outside world in a little bit. But he finally got a job at a copy machine place, which was really good for him. He didn't have to deal with people. He was quiet. All he did was fix copy machines, and he was a genius at it. He really, really liked his job. One day, Sean called Terry over and said, "Hey, come look at this on my computer," all excited. She was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, what'd you find?" Y'all, it was naked pictures of women in different positions, which a lot of people might say, no, you know, okay. But these women were deceased. Terry said, "Oh my God, where did you find that? What are you doing with that? That's disgusting. Don't ever show me that again." He just laughed like it was nothing. Any normal person would be shocked, like, what am I looking at? That's horrible. Well, anyway, one night on January 9th, 1999, Catherine Hall was walking the streets of Baton Rouge. She was an addict. She had a high-risk lifestyle. She was doing her thing, which is fine. You know, some people, that's how they live. Sean drove by, rolled down the window, and said, "Do you want to hop in?" She said, "Yes, thank you," and got in the car. As soon as she got in the car, y'all, Sean grabbed a zip tie. I'm not talking the ones you put on the wrist. These were bigger ones. He grabbed it, threw it around Catherine Hall's neck, and tightened it until she was no longer with us. Very scary. It was like that. He drove to a deserted area. He started stabbing her over 16 times. He did what he had to do with carving, dismembering, and he also stabbed her repeatedly after she passed away. What happens next? He's excited. He's elated. The next day, her body is found under a dead end sign. A little boy actually found Catherine Hall's body. It was very, very traumatizing, but yes, she was found. How awful to pass away like that. How awful. Oh, I forgot to tell y'all. Oh my God, I can't believe I forgot to tell y'all this, because this is crazy. After he did what he had to do with Catherine, she was deceased, he had stabbed her, he put her in his car and drove to the car wash, y'all. Drove with her body to the car wash, even put her seatbelt on, and went and washed out his car. But before he washed out his car, he took her out and placed her on the floor, and then put her back in, put her seatbelt back on, and drove to where he dumped her body underneath the dead end sign. Who does this, y'all? Who does this? Was he not afraid he was going to get caught? Was he not thinking to himself, did I just take someone's daughter? Did I just take someone's mother, grandmother, best friend, sister? What did I take? Who did I take? Did he ever think that? No. Do you know what he said? "I have to go home and cuddle with Terry." I told y'all, we haven't even gotten started, okay? This man was crazy, absolutely crazy, and lived a normal life. The one thing they found on Catherine Hall's body was a hair. Not only a hair, this hair had a root to it, which I don't know if a lot of y'all know, I know, when they find a root of a hair, they can really test it. Really, really test it. I mean, it is the best thing ever. They ran the hair, they did not find a match. Now they would, because Sean had been arrested several times before, but you remember, which is crazy, they didn't swab like they do now. Now you go to jail, you're gonna get swabbed. So, guess what happens next? On the misty, foggy morning, May 30th, 1999, Hardy Mosley Schmidt was doing her morning jog. She loved to run. Y'all, she was even in the Boston Marathon. The Boston Marathon, which is one of the best and the baddest marathons ever. I would love to run it, but I don't think I could even make it. So for y'all who do jog, including Hardy, God rest her soul, I envy y'all. I wish I can do that. I wish I can run for miles and miles and miles. It's incredible for you. Incredible. And it makes your legs fit and toned. Anyway, Hardy was the daughter of a judge. She lived in a very, very nice neighborhood in Baton Rouge. She did not have a high-risk lifestyle. She was a mother. She was a wife, a beautiful 52-year-old woman. She was doing her thing. She always knew to run in residential areas with houses and people. She never ran on deserted roads. She always wanted to be safe, because it was like 5:30 in the morning, which I think also is that's kind of early. You know, always make sure somebody's at least awake. But some people like to run that early, and it's a great stress relief. While Hardy was running, guess who spots her? On Vincent Gillis. Not only did he spot her, he licked his lips and said, "Oh my God, look at my luck. I don't have to pick up Terry for another 2 hours. So what am I going to do? I'm going to commit another homicide. Horrible. He speeds up with excitement, presses on the gas so hard, hits Harley. She falls into a ditch. Before she even knows what's going on, the zip ties around her neck. She's done. He took her to a secluded park, but first he put her in the trunk. He took her out. They were at a deserted park. He essayed her. Yes, essayed her. We all know what I'm talking about. And went dump her body like it was nothing. Her body was found the next day on a deserted road. Y'all, how scary is that? How scary to know that you can't even go running now. You cannot even go jog down the road, because what's going to happen? Something's going to happen. Not all the time, but even me, I'm afraid to go by myself places now. Petrified. So y'all be careful. If y'all do want to run in the morning and y'all like, look, I want to live my life, I totally agree. Y'all bring some mace, maybe like a pit bull or a Doberman. Y'all maybe bring some protection. Y'all all know what I mean. Live your life, but please be safe. Please be safe. I deal with this and I hear about this all the time, and it is so scary. So scary. One day I'm going to tell y'all about my exercise walk, what happened to me, and it scared me for the rest of my life. Anyway, back to Sean Vincent Gillis. On November 12, 1999, Sean was driving through Baton Rouge looking for another victim. He spots a beautiful woman, Joyce Williams, with gorgeous legs. She was a beautiful woman. She did have a high-risk lifestyle. She had been walking on the streets for a while. She felt safe. She didn't feel any harm. Sean slows down and said, hey, you need a ride? And anything else? She gets in the car. They're talking, whatever. Well, it's taken a long time for them to stop somewhere, right? And she says, where are we going? It's taking forever. And if you weren't such a nice man, I would be scared. He just chuckled. As they were driving, he found miles and miles and miles of sugarcane fields, which we all know, you scream in a sugarcane field, you ain't being heard. I mean, miles up. I mean, it's so secluded and there's just sugarcane everywhere. They get out the car. As soon as they get out the car, he wraps the zip tie around her neck and she's deceased. What does he do? Y'all, again, puts her in the car, puts her seatbelt on to make sure she's safe, even though he knows she's deceased, and goes to his house, y'all. He goes to his house that's for his mother, that he shares with his girlfriend and her daughter, okay? He knows no one's home. Remember, Terry works nights, okay? Terry works nights. She doesn't know what's going on. So what happens next? He takes Joyce. He puts her on the floor of his kitchen and starts dismembering her. Remember, he liked her legs and wanted to keep them. Y'all all know what that means. He wanted to keep her, but not her whole body. He said there was so much blood, and I'm not going to tell y'all everything because YouTube will probably shut me off, but y'all need to go and see and find out the things that he did to these women. I'm not going to talk about it, but it is so severe that it's frightening. It's frightening. He grabbed 409 and some paper towels and went to town cleaning. He said there was just blood everywhere he had to clean. He put her body parts in a box, put in the trunk of his car. But remember, Sean also liked to take pictures of deceased people. He would pose them and take pictures after they were deceased, which is horrible. This man is so deranged, I don't even know how to explain it. Okay, y'all? Horrible. He dumps her body and goes about his day to pick up Terry at work. Well, guess what? Okay? Terry starts smelling this foul smell in the car. Like, what is that smell? What is that smell? That's when Sean realized that his third victim, Hardy Schmidt, that he hit while she was jogging, she had spent 24 hours in his trunk. At first, he thought it was Joyce, but he said, oh no, maybe that smell is still there. He said, oh, honey bunny, that's what he called Terry. I hit a squirrel. She's like, you need to go and wash this car, okay? Get this smell out ASAP. He drops her off. He goes to the car wash. At the time Sean was doing all these killings, he was working at the copy machine place. It was a great job for him. He didn't have to deal with people. That's it. Which is, sometimes I'm like that, but I love people. The police station happened to call him and say, hey, our copy machine is broken. Can you come fix it? He said, sure. It was great. So he goes to fix it. And after it's fixed, he has to have a piece of paper to test the copy machine. What does he find, y'all? The flyer of Joyce Williams, okay? The one he just killed. He was so excited that he kept making copies and saying to himself the whole time, I'm reliving the case. I'm reliving the case. I'm reliving the case. He was so sick. He was so sick. Don't you think he should look at that and be like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? That's not what he did. He was elated, excited, happy. Just this great rush came down from his body. It's horrible. This man is so deranged and scary. I don't even know how he had a normal life with a normal girlfriend and no one ever saw. No one, because he was so quiet, sweet, innocent, but he would turn evil. The cops were stunned. They had another cold case, not much evidence. They kind of started thinking, are we dealing with a serial killer here? Because remember, around that time, you had Derek Todd Lee, you had Ronald Dominique, and you had Jeffrey Guillory. They didn't know about any of those. All of these bodies were coming up, popping up everywhere, and they were getting frightened. Like, y'all, we have to do something. In January of 2000, Sean picked up Lillian Robinson. Lillian was walking the streets. Sean, asked for relations. Y'all know what I'm talking about. She got in his car. He did the same thing. He put the zip ties around her neck. He pulled it tight until he knew she was gone, okay? He put her in the trunk, brought her to his house again on the kitchen floor. But this time he said to himself, I don't have enough time to dismember her. And Terry's going to get off of work soon. So I just have to lay with her. Y'all, he took her clothes off and caressed her body everywhere. How sick is this man? How twisted is this man to do this? He said he would just get this great high. And he said as soon as he picked a victim, they were already dead to him. He already knew he was going to kill him. Isn't that crazy? He already knew. Didn't matter if they said, hey, I have a children, I have a mother, a father, a sister, a brother. Didn't matter. It did not matter. He always said that. He put her back in his trunk. This time, he didn't drive around Baton Rouge. He drove past Whiskey Bay by Lafayette, around where I'm from, and dumped her body. Now remember, Derek Todd Lee was dumping bodies as well around the Whiskey Bay area, okay? But it wasn't around this time. Derek was, remember, that was more 2002, 2003. But Sean started it in 2000 with Miss Lillian Robinson. It was devastating. 2 months later, fishermen found her body. No evidence. The body was so decomposed. It was horrible. Horrible. The only good thing that comes about these cases that these victims are found so their families can have closure. On October 20th, 2000, Sean was on his way to Lafayette, which he would do every other weekend around the New Iberia area. His best friend John had a daughter that lived out there. Every other weekend they would go. Sean was her godfather. He was extremely close to her. He did everything for her. Never, ever, ever skipped a weekend. Well, on this weekend, John couldn't go. So Sean said, I'll go by myself, no big deal. Sean wasn't planning on killing, okay? He wasn't planning on doing anything like that. He was just going to see his goddaughter and he was coming back home. Well, he said, luckily, which is a horrible word to say, he found Marilyn Nevels. Marilyn Nevels was walking. Sean pulled up and wanted sexual relations. She got in the car. They agreed. They drove to some empty field. As soon as they stopped, he grabbed a zip tie, put her on her neck. She managed to escape and started running. He caught up to her and finished the deal. After that, he put her in the car, drove to Louisiana Avenue, took her out. She was deceased. He took her out, placed her on the ground, washed his car up. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to stop right there. Why is he washing his car? He said there's blood. Is he hurting these people with something else besides a zip tie? I don't know. I just always question that. I don't know why he's going to wash his car. I can understand if he did something else, but anyway, he washed his car. He went back to his house in Baton Rouge. So he drove from Lafayette, Louisiana Avenue to Baton Rouge to his house over an hour with her body in the car. But she had her seatbelt on. She had her seatbelt on. What happens next? He takes her, he undresses her, places her on the living room floor. And guess what? She had relieved herself. Y'all know what I'm talking about. He was so disgusted, which is weird to me. He does worse things than that. He takes her and puts her in the shower, which is the master bathroom shower. And he undresses himself. Yes, he undressed himself and got in with her body and picked her up, and she wouldn't stay. And he said every time she fell over, he got so excited because he said, it's like she was embracing me. She was embracing me. She was loving what I was doing. Y'all. Who, I need a drink, I think. I'm just joking. I'm telling you, it's crazy. This man was insane. This man made other serial killers look like nothing compared to him. He was so evil, just evil. He really enjoyed necrophilia. Necrophilia is having relations with someone after they were deceased. And as we all know, a very famous serial killer loved necrophilia. Can y'all tell me who it is? Can y'all? Waiting. It is Ted Bundy. He enjoyed it. As we all know, Ted would hurt his victims, kill them, put them somewhere, and days or weeks later go back because he knew exactly where they were, and he would have relations with them. It's sick. It's all twisted, gross. These people are just so deranged. The shower was done. He wrapped her in packaging paper and put her in his trunk to go dump her body. Now, y'all, this victim, my heart goes out to so bad. It is the only victim that Sean had that had no family, nothing. The police had no one to contact, no one to call. There was no family. Nobody was looking for her. That's just horrible. I think everybody should have somebody in this world, especially family. Again, the only type of evidence the cops had was this packaging paper. That's the only thing they had to go on. Johnny Mae Williams was the only victim that Sean Vincent Gillis knew. She cleaned his house. He would go to her house for Thanksgiving dinners. She was an excellent cook. They were good friends. Well, Johnny Mae, all of a sudden, was into the high-risk lifestyle. Sean knew that. They would smoke a little grass, do a little this, do a little that. They just had been friends forever. He loved Johnny Mae. While Sean was driving, he spotted Johnny Mae Williams. He said, he swung the door open in Baton Rouge and said, "Hey, Johnny, what you doing? You can get in the car." She got in the car, right? She got inside the car. They start talking. He turns to her and he says, "Johnny, you back on drugs?" She nodded. She said yes. She was so frail. She was already so skinny. And he was like, "God, this is my friend." But again, he said to himself, "She's already dead in my eyes." She laid back and was just relaxing. The last thing she just thought was that her friend, Sean Vincent Gillis, was going to hurt her. But he did. He brought her to some empty field, road, wherever he brought her, and did what he had to do, ate what he had to eat, took pictures of her, posed her in all these positions after she was dismembered, hurt, and left her there. It was obvious when she was found that she was posed. I don't know if y'all realize this, but a lot of Sean's victims were posed. They were posed. They weren't just like rolling down somewhere and let me just put you right there, or let me just face first. No, they were in a position where if you're deceased, you're not going to be in that position. No, it was very, very, very well placed. The cops had also found severed hands in a Ziploc bag. Y'all, he took her hands off and just threw him out the window. He would throw stuff out the window just like we were throwing away a cigarette. Just here, yeah, here, oh yeah, oh, like it's nothing, yeah. He was so crazy, he just wanted to know what hands would feel like, if y'all get my drift here. Very scary. Sean was on a mission now. Now another thing, from 2000 to 2003, he killed Johnny in October of 2003. From 2000 to 2003, Sean took a back seat to who? Guess who? Yes, Derek Todd Lee. Derek Todd Lee was doing his killing at the time. Sean was obsessed with Derek Todd Lee. He would watch all the videos on the news, on the computer. He wanted to know all about Derek Todd Lee. And I don't know which serial killer it is. Sean will not say, but he told the cops, when he told them everything, that he and another serial killer dumped around the same place. I don't know who it is. I don't know which one it is. But in 2003, Derek was locked up. We caught Derek in May of 2003. So I don't know who it could be. He didn't want to give up the name. It could be Jeff Guillory. It's definitely not Ronald Dominique. He was never in the Baton Rouge area. But we don't know who it is. But that is a scary thought. Very scary. On February 26, 2004, Donna Bennett Johnson was walking the streets of Baton Rouge. Sean was so happy, elated. He found another victim. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. He knew he had time to do what he had to do. He didn't have to pick up Terry for another couple of hours. Okay? So he pulled up, rolled on the window. He said, hey, relations. She said, okay. He said the whole car after she got in was filled with alcohol. He said she was so drunk, terribly drunk. But anyway, she got in the car. She was quiet. She kind of laid back, kind of fell asleep on and off. What does Sean do? He wraps the zip ties around her neck. Yes. He takes pictures of her after she is deceased. And then he starts his ritual of feasting and carving. And notice that she has a tattoo on her thigh that he wants to keep. We all know what happens next. After that, Sean looks at her and takes more pictures after he's done what he's done. Sick, twisted, horrible. He placed her in the trunk, kept taking pictures. He drives to a secluded area and dumps her body. But while he's doing that, again, he's just tossing stuff out the window. Little by little, one by one, no emotion. Thought to himself, I'm on such a high right now. Such a high. I did what I had to do. All the victims had very high lifestyles, besides Hardy. They were addicts, alcoholics, they walked the streets, they did things like that. And as they had this high-risk lifestyle, they put themselves in danger every single day. But it's what they had to do to keep up their habit. Well, the cops knew they had a serial killer on their hands. They knew at that point they had to find this killer because he was going to keep killing. They got every clue together. They went back and forth with each clue. They went through every single case, every little thing they can find. Well, guess what, y'all? They found something. They couldn't find DNA, and even if they had found DNA besides the hair, they had no one to match it to. Sean wasn't in the database. They had no one to match it to. But what they found was a Goodyear tire. And this tire was at the scene where Donna Bennett Johnson was placed. God, that's so sad. It breaks my heart because she was a mother and I watched the interview with her sons. You don't need to go watch it. Oh, well, the cops saw this, went to Goodyear and said, what kind of tire is this? They told him, they subpoenaed Goodwill and they said, we need to know everyone that bought this tire. They narrowed it down to 60 people. Who was number 26 on their list? Sean Vincent Gillis. Of course, he said, I don't know what you're talking about, whatever. You know, like it was nothing. Well, the cops kind of had this feeling that Sean was guilty. Yes, he kind of knew, especially because he told them when they went see him that he knew one of the victims. On April 28th of 2004, Sean and Terry were enjoying the spring day. Lovely day. Sean was actually outside listening to the radio. Terry was inside. Knockety knock, knock, knock. It's the cops again. They said, "Is this the home of Sean Vincent Gillis?" Terry said, "Yes." "Can we come in?" Absolutely. Terry let him in. They said, "We need to speak to Sean." She said, "Of course, he's on the patio." She stays inside. Y'all, let me tell you something. I'm going to stop right there. The cops come for my man. I'm going outside. I'm going to see what they're talking about, because that is the scariest thing. I don't even know what I would do. I would be so curious, and I would be so worried at the same time. I would know something was up. Well, they kind of question him. Do you know Catherine Hall? Do you know Johnny May Williams? Do you know Joyce? They started asking him all these questions. Donna Mae Johnson. He was like, no, just like whatever. They said, "Well, we need to talk to you, and you need to come down with us to the station." Before they did that, they got a swab of him. He agreed to it. He also signed a waiver that they can search his vehicle, which we all know what was going on in that vehicle. How scary, how horrible. Anyway, as he's walking back in the house, the cops and Terry are shocked when Sean says this: "Terry, get their number. Don't worry if I'm not home before dark. You're gonna know where to find me." Terry says, "What?" And he tells the cops, "Tell Terry why you need my assistance." So the cops, I'm guessing, just said his tire and murder, or I don't know. Whatever they said to her. She said, okay. Sean goes down to the station. He's there for hours. They're asking him so many questions. Sean actually looks at him and says, "Okay, I've been here forever. Y'all told me I'm not under arrest. I'm getting hungry. I'm ready to go." He sat there and was quiet, didn't really say much. They needed more questions. As he's smoking a cigarette, he throws it down, puts it out with his shoe, and says, "Let's get this blank over with." He had enough, but he also knew that the gig was up. He was done. He was going up the road, going to the big house. He knew it was done. The gig was up. It was over. He was caught. They had his DNA. He knew. They bring Sean home. The DNA was not ready yet. They couldn't keep him there. They didn't have much on him. So they bring him home. While they're bringing him home, they set up surveillance around his house, because they have it in their mind, this is the guy, okay? He gets home. Terry says, "What's going on?" He said, "Oh, they just had to ask me some questions about my tires. That lady was found. They want to know if it was my tires, whatever." And she just said, "Okay." I wouldn't be satisfied with that answer. I would want to know more, but that's just me. I would have been like, "Well, why you were there for hours?" But anyway, they shared a romantic dinner, she said. He actually came to bed with Terry, one of the first times. He did not like to be with Terry in that way. But this night, they wrapped each other. They were wrapped in each other's arms. They had a great night. They did whatever. Well, y'all, the DNA match comes back, and it is a 100% match to Sean Vincent Gillis. They were so excited. They couldn't wait to arrest him. That's the first thing on their mind was, let's go get him, okay? Even though they were already there, surveillance in the house, because they didn't want him to leave that night to go do something else. Not knock, knock, knock. Terry said it was 1:30 in the morning. They're sleeping. Could y'all imagine? Y'all are sound to sleep, quiet. All of a sudden, you hear boom, 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 smoke bombs, people everywhere. They break down their bedroom door. Sean pops up and she's like, what's going on? What's going on? And he shrugged his shoulders and was like, I don't know, and kind of smiled. And they cuffed them both. I don't know why. I don't know why they would cuff them both. I don't know. I guess some of y'all could tell me that. I don't know if it's because they know he's a serial killer and they don't know if she had involvement. I don't know how that works. I don't know why you would handcuff both people. But anyway, they did. Terry looked at the cops and says, what is going on? What are you arresting him for? He said, murder. She said, what? He said, ma'am, you didn't know that you were living with a serial killer? She laughed and said, boy, y'all got the wrong house and the wrong man. Sean turned to her and said, I'm sorry, honey bunny. They go, it's done. Sean knows it's over. On the way to the police station, he says, I need a lawyer. I said, okay. He says it again. Well, the police, as soon as he gets in the interview room, the police just keeps talking. Well, Sean keeps talking. And when he talks, he sings like a bird, y'all. Sings like a bird. He tells them everything. Not only everything, he tells them about Ann Bryan. You remember, they have nothing on Sean with Ann Bryan. Nothing. Everybody else they do, but Sean Bryan, Ann Bryan, they have nothing on her. The Marilyn Neville's in Lafayette, they had nothing on her. But he tells them everything. So they call Lafayette, they see if there's this case. Yes, another match. It's crazy. Sean matches every single detail to these cases and tells the cops everything for not 1 hour, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5 hours, but 40 hours of confession. Okay? 40 hours. It is the most horrible interrogation ever. Because he doesn't hold anything back. He tells them everything. So scary, y'all. So scary. Y'all remember when Sean asked for a lawyer? During the interview, one of the cops walks in the interview room and says, hey, Sean, we have your lawyer. He said, don't make any statements. Stop talking. Sean said, nope, I don't care. And kept talking. Just kept talking. He wanted to get everything off his chest, which is a good thing that they didn't have to have this huge trial. He didn't deny anything, but it's still sick. One of the things that bothered me the most, and this is the thing that I'm going to tell y'all made me stop working on the case and move to Ronald Dominique, even though he was sick, because I couldn't take it with Sean at this moment. I said, y'all, I can't, I need a break. What happened? A psychiatrist or a criminologist comes in, is this lady. She's sweet, she's nice. She sits in front of him and she goes, what, kind of tell me about this, tell me about that. Well, guess what he says? Guess what he says to this lady? He says, if y'all wouldn't have caught me, y'all probably would have caught me with my mother. Now, at that, I'm not going to tell you exactly what I meant by that, but he's talking about like necrophilia, I had to stop at that point. That was so sick and disgusting. Just like Ed Kemper, who looks exactly like Sean. That was disgusting. Ed Kemper, we're going to talk about him one day. He did horrible things like Sean. They were two peas in a pod. Well, Terry ends up getting to speak to Sean through the glass, and she straight up asks him, Sean, did you do all these things? He said, yes, honey bunny, I did everything. That was the end. She was done. She just said in her mind that she was going to forget all about Sean. She was finished with him. The police went back to the house and they got this, I don't know what this light is called, but it's this light to look for blood. But when they turned off the lights and put this light on, the whole kitchen was covered with blood. And Terry said as soon as she found out that Sean had done all of this stuff, she went straight to the house and tore up the floors, and there was blood under these. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Everything he said to the cops was 100% true. Now, Sean was sentenced to life in prison and is serving his sentence at Angola State Prison. As we all know, that's where Derek Todd Lee and Ronald Dominique were sent to serve out their sentence. Of course, we all know Derek Todd Lee died in 2016 while serving his sentence. What I'm going to tell y'all next is, to me, I couldn't live with it. And y'all don't send me mean comments. Y'all say whatever. But Terry still lives in that house. Terry is still there. Actually, she got back together with her daughter's father, and he moved in. The car that Sean was doing all this stuff in is sitting outside in her backyard. She's still in that house. She said that she closed off the bathroom that he was doing all that stuff with Marilyn. You remember he was showering and bracing, whatever. She doesn't even go in there. And she tore up the floor. I mean, she said in her mind that, why be mad at the house? The house is just a building. The house is just something that's there. She knew in the back of her mind that she didn't look at it like that. I don't know about y'all, but I could not live in a house that all those things happened in. I could not. I couldn't stand in the kitchen and know that under my feet, what was done. It is so scary. It is so deranged. But y'all, this is the horrible story of Sean Vincent Gillis. Yes. My final thought. I think Sean was I think he was a loner. And I think that he had mental issues like his father, Norman. I think that some of the things that Sean did reminded me of Norman. Just a lot of issues. I think Sean needed help. And I think what made Sean get worse was he was with his mother all the time. And when he was 30 years old, his mother leaves and he doesn't know what to do with himself. He has no job. He has nothing to do. So he decides to start killing. And it's a horrible thing. It just seems that he had a lot of mental issues that he never worked through. He might have known that he didn't even have, like he might not have known he had these issues. But in one of the interviews, which I'm going to link the interview down below, but in one of these interviews, Sean made this comment: I'm a monster, I'm evil, and I want something done about it. And he told the cops, do you want to see a monster? Because that's who I am. So he knew he was crazy. He knew that he was a killer. It wasn't like Derek Tolley that didn't say anything. And it wasn't like Ronald Dominique, who was remorseful and cried the entire time. During the interview, which y'all gonna see, he's drinking his coffee, like it's talking about this like it's nothing. And he says, now I can finally figure out what's wrong with me. He knew something was wrong with him, but why didn't he get help? Did he not think that this was okay? Did he not think that it was wrong to be looking at deceased people in all these positions on the internet and showing his girlfriend? The whole thing was crazy. I just think that Sean needs some help, and I really hope in prison he is getting the help he needs. Like I always tell you, I don't know what goes on, in Angola, or in any prison, but are these criminals getting the help they need? Or do they just put them in there, lock the key, boom, done? I'll see you for breakfast in the morning. Yes. I hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I enjoyed telling y'all the story. I enjoy diving in, treading water. I love to tell y'all all about crime. And why? Because to me, in a way, it helps people learn different things. It really does. I've learned a lot of safety measures listening to my favorite crime YouTubers, of the things that they talk about, that they see, that they want us to know. I hope you'll have an amazing weekend. And y'all, the next one, he's not like Sean, but it's bad. It is bad. I'm talking about, we have another person that's doing some kind of, dismembering, but it is horrible. And it's not in the state, just in the state of Louisiana. He's gone here, there, everywhere. So y'all stay tuned. I know this was a long video. I apologize, but I wanted to tell y'all everything that I've known about the case. I've been knowing about this. And another thing that I wanted to tell y'all before I forget, I don't know if a lot of y'all knew about Sean Vincent Gillis, but I didn't until I started learning about Derek Todd Lee. I knew about Jeffrey Guillory, and so I started learning about Derek Todd Lee. You know why? Derek Todd Lee, his victims weren't high-risk lifestyle. But I don't care who it is. No one deserves to die. No one. And we should have all known about Sean Gillis, and maybe we had. I don't know. I never heard of him in my life. I never heard about Jeffrey Guillory in my life because they focus so much on Derek Todd Lee. Thank y'all again. Mwah. Love y'all. Bye.